That is how someone like me, who went from corporate to quitting cold turkey to working minimum wage as a coffee barista to all of a sudden becoming a multiple seven-figure business owner, not just in sales but in profits, was able to do all of that in less than 2 years. That is insane. What's up everyone? Welcome back to my channel, the best place for new coaches, content creators, and entrepreneurs. In today's video, I want to talk about the 3 moves that I made that helped me make $1 million and more in my life. I remember when I graduated university, I started working at a corporation making $65,000 a year. Shortly after that, I decided to quit cold turkey, which honestly isn't the smartest move that I could have made, but it was what I needed in order to really create space in my life to start a business eventually or do something different that would make me happier. Well, long story short, within a few months of quitting my corporate job, I realized that I actually needed to get a job even if I wanted to start a business. But going back to corporate just wasn't an option, and I knew that it was going to be a band-aid solution. And so what I did is I reset everything, decided to work at a coffee shop making $12 an hour minimum wage for at least half a year. During that time period, I decided to start a business, start this YouTube channel, create content online, and fast forward today, I went from minimum wage to now having a multiple 7-figure business and also a multiple 7-figure net worth. And so in today's video, I really want to share the 3 key things that I did in my life to get to this point, because I know back then, even when I was in corporate making $65K a year, I thought that it would be impossible for me to make $1 million, and I had no idea how other people were doing that. And so I hope that this video can really expand your mind to what's possible in your life, all the little changes and shifts that you can make in order to hit 6 figures, 7 figures in your life or even in your business. And so if you're interested in all that, then keep watching. All right, so let's talk about the first move that I made that helped me become a millionaire, not just in revenue or sales, but in profits. And that is productizing my knowledge and my brand. And to be honest, I had no idea that I was even doing this until I read this book, The Almanac of Naval Ravikant. And if you're like me months ago who had no idea who Naval was, he's actually the co-founder of AngelList, and he's also a venture capitalist within the Silicon Valley space, and he's just a huge player within tech. In this book, something interesting that he mentions is how different generations build wealth. And the previous generation, they were able to build wealth, and by wealth, I mean become billionaires with capital. And capital essentially means cash. You would need to be a Henry Ford or a Warren Buffett, someone who has a lot of cash that they can use as leverage to continue growing their businesses or themselves or their lives or whatever else. Versus the newer generation, a lot of the wealth that they're building is due to the fact that they have either code leverage or media leverage. Now, what does that mean? Code leverage is basically code, literally writing code. And if you think about Jeff Bezos, you think about Mark Zuckerberg, you think about Steve Jobs, a lot of them had leverage because they had incredible code. They had incredible technology that they were able to leverage in order to build up their businesses and build themselves into billionaire status. Versus media. Media could be the PewDiePies or the Joe Rogans of the world, or even me. You can post content on podcast, on YouTube, and also build a lot of money from that. Joe Rogan, every time that he releases an episode, or just the fact that he even has a podcast, he makes anywhere between $50 to $100 million a year. And that's because he has media leverage. And so in this case, what I've learned through reading this book is that there are so many different ways to accumulate wealth, and capital, whether that's cash or labor, is not the only way. And nowadays, there are different ways that you can build wealth. And one of the most incredible things that I got from reading this book is that code and media, the newer leverages in order to build wealth, are basically permissionless. And what he means by permissionless is you don't need anyone's permission to write code or to create media in order to succeed. Versus if you are leveraging cash or if you are leveraging labor, you need someone to give you that cash, or you need someone to follow you in order to give you labor. It requires a level of permission. Whereas nowadays, as long as you have a computer and you have Wi-Fi, you're able to create content online, basically build your own media company, or even open up your computer and write code. And if you're someone like me who can't write code, then start creating a podcast, start creating a YouTube channel, build a brand. And once you've built build that brand and you've built that audience, monetize it so that you can become the PewDiePies or the Joe Rogans or the James Charles of the world who literally have made millions using social media. And so the fact that code and media leverage are essentially permissionless as per Naval Ravikant, that is how someone like me, who went from corporate to quitting cold turkey to working minimum wage as a coffee barista to all of a sudden becoming a multiple seven-figure business owner, not just in sales but in profits, was able to do all of that in less than 2 years. That is insane. And so when I talk about productizing your knowledge or your brand, what I'm essentially talking about is literally turning yourself into a product. That is how a lot of the newer billionaires are able to really build wealth for themselves because of media leverage. Think of the Kylie Jenners of the world, the Joe Rogans of the world, the PewDiePies of the world. They have been able to immensely benefit from their media leverage. And also on the flip side, if you're someone who's not interested in media, and let's say you're really interested in technology, then writing code, people like Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, they've also been the new era of billionaires as well. It's no longer just the Warren Buffetts or the Henry Fords of the world. Now, if you're watching this video and you're unsure in terms of how you can even productize yourself, how you can even turn your content creation into an actual business or something that allows you to accumulate wealth for yourself over time, then definitely check out this free training that I have over here. It's literally called Followers to Clients. So make sure you visit at www.followerstoclients.com. I not only share 3 free trainings on how you monetize your content to get clients for yourself, but I also give you the roadmap of how a lot of my other clients have been able to go from 0 to making 5 to 10K months using Instagram alone and other social media platforms as well. So definitely check out this free training. The link is in the description box or in the comment section below. Now, on top of productizing my knowledge, my brand, and myself here on social media, the next move that I made was I grew my audience organically. And what that means is I didn't rely on paid advertising when I first started in order to build my audience. Nowadays, I do include paid advertising in my marketing and sales strategy, and I think there is definitely a place for paid ads, and it can certainly give you a leg up if you have the money to invest. Because if anything, with paid ads, especially if you're doing it right, you should never really be losing money. If anything, if you lose money, you're probably doing something wrong, whether your creatives are off or your targeting isn't right and all of that. Because at the end of the day, if you're able to put in $10 into Facebook Ad Manager or $10 into Google AdSense and you're able to get $20, $30 back, that is a really good ROI and is definitely worth your money. However, one thing that I'm really glad that I did is I built a very strong organic audience, meaning that people found me organically through their own will, through their own search, and so I have a way more loyal audience, and also I'm not victim to any algorithm changes when it comes to paid ads. So for instance, if I'm spending a lot of money in paid advertising on Facebook and one day Facebook decides to change the rules entirely, I am basically at the helm of Facebook. I am at the helm in terms of the fact that I have spent all of my money to build my audience paying for leads. Now, on the flip side, of course, I am also still at victim to algorithm changes, whether that's a TikTok algorithm change or a YouTube algorithm change or a podcast algorithm change or a Instagram algorithm change. But the fact that I have also diversified the platforms that I'm on, very similar to you diversifying your stock portfolio, if let's say Instagram decides to shut down, at least I have somewhat of a TikTok audience. Or if YouTube decides to shut down, at least I have a podcast audience. Or if all of them shut down, at least I have an email list. And so me being strategic with diversifying my organic platforms and also having a paid advertising strategy, but not necessarily 100% relying on it, allows me to also build a lot of leverage as well. Not only this, let's say if I have a lower cash month and I'm not able to invest in paid advertising, I can still lean on my organic audience with very little barrier to entry in terms of marketing, promoting, and also delivering value. Finally, when it comes to advertising, let's say on Facebook or whatever, even if I'm making a 3 times return on investment, I still have to pay for those leads. So my cost per purchase or my cost per lead, it's still gonna cost me something. For example, right now in our paid advertising for Facebook, for every purchase that we get, we have to pay about $300 in order to get it. Now, obviously, if my product is $1,000 and I'm paying $300 to make $1,000, it's still a positive return. But at the end of the day, versus an organic audience, I had to pay $300 in order to do that. So I kind of lose some of the profits. Versus if I'm selling it organically, it costs me $0 in terms of of getting that sale. And that's why for me, I find it to be very strategic to not just rely on paid advertising, but also really focus your efforts on organic marketing as well. Because a big mistake that I see people making is they start diving into paid ads and then they start heavily relying on paid ads for their business to the point where they completely neglect their organic marketing strategy, in which case they have lower profits and also they have less leverage. All right, now let's talk about the third move that I made that really helped me see my first million or my first multi-million or even my first six figures, and that is scaling up my time. And so when I first started on my journey, I productized my knowledge and my brand by first offering one-on-one services. And so when I was creating videos like this about quitting the 9-to-5 and all these different things, I had a few people reach out to me asking for private consultation on how they could leave their 9-to-5s and all of that. And eventually I started charging. And so I had one-on-one clients that I was working with privately. Eventually I was booked out and I realized that I needed to do something about it, because the fact that I was trading time for money, if I was booked out with clients, I wasn't able to make more money. I wasn't able to sign any more clients. There was a cap on, number one, the amount of value that I could give, but also the amount of money that I could make. And so eventually I transitioned it into somewhat of a group coaching course hybrid. What this means is I took all of my knowledge and then I launched the first variation of the Boss Gram Academy. So since then I have pivoted. I now teach people how to use social media to turn their followers into clients just like I did through selling their one-on-one services. And so basically I took all of my knowledge and packaged it into this program. And then I also still was trading time for money and I started hopping on weekly calls with my students. That allowed me to work with more people at once instead of each person individually, which tied up a lot of my time. Eventually, I started to transition up even more and I went from a group coaching type of model to a fully evergreen model where all of the knowledge that I have is packaged into the newest update of my program, the Boss Gram Academy. And when you purchase the program, you basically have everything laid out to you to the point where you don't even necessarily need calls because everything is there for you. It's all accessible because I have perfected the process for BGA. And so that is the evolution of how I scaled up my time. I didn't just start selling courses because at the end of the day, there's a lot of value in working with people one-on-one so you can collect feedback. And especially if you're someone who has a very small audience, by offering services one-on-one and trading your time for money a little bit, you're actually able to charge a little bit more for that time that you're giving out. And so you're able to actually make more money with a smaller audience. Let's say you have 5 clients and you sell each of them for $2,000 each, that's $10,000 right there. Versus if you sell a course that doesn't have any coaching component, that doesn't have any call component, doesn't have anything, it's just basically information, and you sell it for $200, it's gonna take a lot of units in order to make 10,000. And so that's why there's definitely a transition and a process in order for you to scale comfortably and also for you to get your clients results. And if you're interested in learning more about that transition, make sure you visit my training, www.followerstoclients.com. I actually break down even more in depth the transition from working with free clients all the way up to having an evergreen program that allows you to earn income passively almost every single month. And to bring it into context, because I have all of my knowledge packaged into this program that sells on autopilot, I'm able to earn anywhere between $100,000 to $300,000 per month without me necessarily trading time for money. But that process of me getting there took a lot of time in terms of making updates to my program, listening to feedback, and getting my program to a place where it can still get people incredible results like these, even without calls. And so definitely check out my training, www.followerstoclients.com, because I literally break down the entire roadmap and the critical questions that you need to ask yourself at each step, whether that's working with clients one-on-one, offering group coaching programs, or having a DIY evergreen program. That was a really key move that I made in order to scale up my business from 10K months to 10K days. Anyways, guys, in this video, I shared with you the 3 critical moves that I made in hindsight that helped me go from corporate salary to minimum wage to then multiple 7 figures in my lifetime. I remember I wrote this check right here back when I was in corporate, and I thought that I wouldn't see my first 6 figures until I was the age of 30. And now, thanks to media leverage, thanks to scaling up my time, and thanks to building up my audience organically, it has allowed me to really go from 0 to 100. Now, of course, before you leave, I want to shout out this book again, The Almanac of Naval Ravikant. I have recommended this book to so many people, and not a single soul has gotten back to me and said that they didn't like it. Everyone that I've recommended this book has absolutely loved it. The link is in my description box below and also in my tools page, where you can also see the other books that I've been reading that I highly recommend. Now, I post videos on marketing, entrepreneurship, and social media, so make sure you check out these two videos that I have right here as well. I promise they won't disappoint. As always, guys, I appreciate you. I hope you guys have a great day, a great week, and a great life, and I will see you in the next video. Bye, guys.